Hello, every folks, and good morning! Welcome to another edition of Know Your Fried Chicken, aka Know Your Unit 1 Vision. Today, we are talking about my man Albelio, who I guess is going by Rudlum now. Essentially, a unique variation on the Warlock that min-maxes itself in really bizarre ways that kind of lend to the gigantic pile of references that this guy has to his role as a very oddly specific nod to a reference. I don't even know if you'd call it a reference within a reference. It's like there's a hidden fight, a hidden prequel fight in March of the Black Queen. That's where Albelio is from. In order to get there, you specifically had to start that game by changing your name to Fireseal, at which point you would play one of the fights that happened long before the game actually took place in order to find some dude that's trying to create an army of dragons to go take over the world and, well, basically kick his ass. That's Albelio. That's Rudlum. That is who he was originally. He was just a dude that was trying to help out Rashidi and was basically the Starscream to his Megatron. He was kind of the incompetent guy that was just given an army for no apparent reason. Anyway, point is, though, every time he dies, like many other shapeshifters in the series, he just kind of reincarnates somewhere else and just tries again. And so in this case, we find him in Palace of the Dead, attempting once again to recruit a bunch of dragons and basically almost getting himself eaten for his trouble. So with that said, let's go ahead and talk about the Enchanter, because this class is just as weird as this guy is, which I absolutely love. Like, it's one of those classes that it's hard to necessarily have a, like, role in mind for, but you can't really go wrong having him there anyway. Like, this guy is clearly not going in there with a plan. So let's go ahead and discuss here. So, first of all, in order to get access to this class, you have to either beat Zadoba. She's going to drop the first class mark here. So Zadoba is the first story battle you run into in Palace of the Dead. Well, I guess technically second, but she's like the first one you actually care about. So floor number 3. So she'll drop your first Artificer mark, and then further ones can be crafted with Secrets of the Master, with Parchment, Gold Leaf Ink, and the Tower card. Interestingly enough, a nice little kind of warping card there. Anyway, as far as his spells are concerned, though, he is essentially a Warlock that has no access to anything other than Draconics. However, of those Draconics, he only actually has 2 attacking moves, which is kind of bizarre. One of them you're looking at right here, Baron Soul. Now, as far as the actual formula differences between these different ones here, Baron Soul is a weird little goober in that it's kind of like an anti-wizard magic spell of sorts, essentially being similar to how you would use the regular draconic spells, in which they're going and using your weapon damage to go and punch through stuff. However, in his particular case, it's again especially effective as a direct physical attack, meaning it's better versus wizards than it is versus tanks a lot of the time. It can still be very good versus tanks. It's just specifically better versus wizards for reasons. I forget exactly what those formula reasons are, but versus wizards and archers, he's especially effective. Additionally, his only other direct attacking move is Agony, which weaponizes his health bar. So essentially, the closer you are to the center of your health bar, the more damage you do. And this is arguably his main attacking move. See, the funny thing is, this guy has a few components. For one thing, he's constantly attempting to reference his weird story up to this point, but additionally, he is trying to be the best golem support you've ever seen. This dude is best golem dad 100%. Now, the reason for this is because he not only can empower as an action move, but as a primary move, he can also heal them for half of their health as well as remove a debuff. So, Empower MF is basically going to fully restore a golem for all intents and purposes. So very, very strong combo there. And additionally, he's got a lot of the usual draconic support abilities like Blasphemy, Warcraft, and Thaumaturgy here that will help to actually keep them operating. So either way, great support guy. Weirdly specific collection of skills here. Now, on top of everything else, he actually has Acid Cloud as well, which is basically the March of the Black Queen version of the Enchanter spell. That's why he's, the Enchanter. Why is this significant? Because just like Baron Soul, this was another weird attack that just did weird things for weirdness' sake. For those that have never played March of the Black Queen, their thing was that they were a wizard that did physical attacks magically. So their Acid Cloud ability actually was more or less a physical attack. It wasn't elementally resisted, it was just physically punching somebody in the face with acid. Weird thing, but either way, in this case, yes, he's using his magical stats in order to attack something physically, and also can inflict breach. So one of the better kind of AoE explosions that you can possibly find out there. So Barren Soul, Agony, Acid Cloud. That is this guy's game plan outside of his weapons. Additionally, you've got Core Collapse, which basically has him order an enemy golem to self-destruct, going and blowing up the units around them. This one is weird to actually implement. Like, I want to point out an interesting quirk to this guy, because what we're looking at right now is part of Rudlin. What we actually want to go and show off here is, let's say here, how many points do we need for Encase? We need 30. You know what? This should be enough. So let's go ahead and say we hit a guy, and we get up to 30. His thing, for those that never played March of the Black Queen, this is going to become super weird. There's a thing in March of the Black Queen where a lot of the wizards wind up as statues for whatever reason. So what we have in Rudlim's case is that it turns them to stone, raises their defense, and also gives you a percentage of their MP back. So this guy is all about manipulating his bars as far as all those mechanics go, but additionally, he's actually a weirdly good Agony user because of this ability. Now, let's get mechanical here for a second here, and let's also discuss why it is that that Acid Cloud and Core Collapse don't have a tendency to come up as often for somebody that's using Encase, because this is when we start getting into nitty-gritty build stuff. Because oftentimes what I found was that if I was running him with a spell book, he would be able to start off with an immediate Acid Cloud and then switch over to a melee roll, primarily using Agony. The reason for this is because of how Encase works. So, in this case, he goes forward, he encases himself, he petrifies himself until his next round. Now, I love this for a number of reasons. For one thing, we create the situation that because he's, basically a traitor and whatever else to everybody that's around him all the time, you don't actually know when his next turn is coming up. He only petrifies himself for one turn, but he removes himself from the turn order, which is, again, weirdly specific. But additionally, he can get himself to half health and constantly put himself into this sort of turtle state, giving him enough MP to be able to cast Agony again, but not enough to use a lot of his more advanced abilities depending on your situation. Like in this case, I use an MP leaf because we're going to try to show off some stuff, but it's fascinating that this actually allows him in many ways to basically hide himself from the team, as well as also allowing himself to repeatedly spam Agony. And I've had multiple occasions in the late game here where this became a very, 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 very viable strategy, where even, like, let's say during the Oz and Bounceathon fight, I intended to use him to weaponize the enemy golem to go and hit the entire crowd there. I intended to use Acid Cloud to hit that entire crowd. I ended up using Barren Soul to go and bully a few of the casters from the second row, which, again, is weirdly fitting for everything here. Also, you might notice Barren Soul, wait a minute, that's not even a March of the Black Queen thing, that's a Knight of Lotus thing. Yes, this whole everything about this just kind of keeps going deeper and deeper into the reference rabbit hole. Anyway, so yeah, he ended up being very effective even versus Oz. He was one of the primary damage dealers versus Oz because he put himself into this weird position where he locked himself into his statue form. He would just run up, he would spam Agony and encase himself again. Spam Agony, encase himself again. Over and over and over, and they would just not attack him because his defense was higher on account of the whole being petrified thing. So really, really fun stuff there. Now, as far as that goes, that's already pretty darn useful in and of itself. But with their equipment options, they actually can be a pretty darn solid hitter here as well. So let me go over their equipment options here real quick. So as far as their weapons are concerned, we're looking at fists, daggers, one-handed swords, hammers, 1HKs, cudgels, spellbooks, and instruments. So they've got a ton of different abilities as far as their weapons are concerned. So you can get weird with their builds. Like, that's really what it comes down to. And additionally, if you don't want to go the encase route, they actually have a more kind of a standard wizard approach, being able to use extend, which is otherwise limited to the basic wizard. So again, we're seeing this case where he can be a direct offensive caster, like extend plus Sorry, my nose is acting up. Extend, as well as combining in Acid Cloud, is very, very potent as just kind of an artillery move, as well as being able to potentially hit with Agony at weird ranges and stuff like that. So, weird unit with some weird abilities, but it just works, dude. Everything about this guy is super wacky, super bizarre. And if you're wondering what's with the music in the background, well, as far as this guy is concerned, every time that I look at his whole, like, Agony and Case combo, I just keep thinking, like, this dude's a Pokemon. Like, this dude's a Wobbuffet. Like, I don't know how to see this guy any other way. Sure, he's got that really powerful wizard approach. He might be a March of the Black Queen wizard, but dang it, like, I will see this guy as a smiling Wobbuffet forever. So yeah, that's the Enchanter in a nutshell. Super weird class, lots of different abilities, lots of very kind of conflicting abilities, and yeah, really love the thing. So that's about that. They again just kind of feel like a unit that goes in without any particular plan in mind. They're just going to kind of wing it when they get there. Here we'll go ahead and see how good one of these is in just a bit of a moment. But as you'll notice, with his encase ability, he's right there in the open. He's in a robe. I mean, his leggings allow him to de-aggro quite a bit, but he's sitting there in a robe using a side-graded longsword. So essentially, he doesn't actually have that much defense on him. He sacrificed a shield slot, he sacrificed heavy armor, and sure enough, nobody's even bothering to target him because that encase condition is really good for this. Now, I don't know if it raises his defense beyond being just petrified, because I feel like even petrified enemies usually, or petrified units, eventually get attacked. Like, he will get attacked every now and then, but again, it just plays into his ability to use Agony even more. So, like, yeah, there we go. Now we're all the way back, and now he can, let's say, go ahead and or do a core collapse here. So, like, let's say he goes and he orders a golem to self-destruct, then he would be able to do one of these. So he goes and this is okay, you know, you're going to go ahead and just blow up your core, and he's going to go ahead and hit enemy units nearby. Essentially like a sort of version of Shadow Break that you can go and move around and pick the location of. Something like Acid Cloud over here is, again, very devastating versus specific types of units. Like, this guy is so oddly specific, I love it. But yeah, really effective kind of line breaker move here in the form of Acid Cloud. And then again, going back to stuff like Baron Soul, just an interesting anti-unarmored move. Like, he's got Draconics that are anti-Draconics in a way. So yeah, that's about that. That's Rudlum, that's the Enchanter, that is the weird little goober that is this class. A very fun unit, a very specifically neutral unit. And yeah, y'all have yourselves a good one, take care, thank you for stopping by, and I hope this was fun. Alright, take care, bye.